What's up, everybody? Welcome to another incredible Impact Circle webinar. Today we have the incredible Mario Hernandez. If you guys don't know, he's now a partner and owner of the Impact Circle alongside myself and Kendra. And he has brought a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge, and is just an incredible human being when it comes to impact. As infectious as I am around it, excited to bring it out to the world, and we come from two kind of different backgrounds, and as we start blending them, it's creating this beautiful symmetry of being able to support people in a whole different manner. And I'm really excited today to have him come in and lead our strategic communication, leading through storytelling. Mario does an incredible job of framing impact in a way that keeps you captivated and keeps you involved. And that's why I wanted him to come put this webinar on for you guys today, so they can feel it. So I'm not going to take up any more time, but we can't all clap, so we kind of like do happy hands, as we call it. So if you guys want to take 2 seconds and give Mario some happy hands as we welcome him and let him take over. So Mario, you're in charge, my friend. The stage is yours.
This is the energy that I needed on a Thursday. So thank you everybody for joining us today. I was very much looking forward to having this webinar. Storytelling is something that we can all participate in, something that is absolutely crucial in every stage in life. And similar to sales, it's something that we actually do absolutely every day. When we're actually thinking about social impact initiatives, whether it's within our business or internally with our employees, we need to be able to captivate those emotions via empathy, via excitement, via more than just words, but understanding the movements that are going on in today's world as well. And this is something that we wanted to jump into very importantly so that we can actually drive impact forward and go beyond the facts, the numbers, because that's something that, unfortunately, as important as it is to demonstrate or to articulate, it's the emotions that connect people. It's the story, the cause. This goes for absolutely everything. So whether you're a foundation or you're a startup, you're an impact business, it applies the same to absolutely everyone. And so during the webinar, we're actually going to showcase a few campaigns that were extremely successful from foundations and some that were extremely successful for private businesses as well, to understand how these different foundations, organizations, and businesses were able to captivate their users, how they were actually able to captivate these stories. And then if you're looking for a donation, for example, if you're a nonprofit, it's not about looking for that donation, it's about getting people involved in the movement. And that's how you actually transform significant change and involve your believers into this mission for a long time success. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone, and we're going to go through a few slides. There we go. Let me know if you can see the screen at the moment. Just some hands up.
You're good, bro. We can see.
All right, nice. So the power of storytelling. It's incredible how it's evolved over time. We've been able to actually realize that before it was very much numerical based. Many of the times that we were always trying to drive impact forward, it was discussing or talking about the number of people that are suffering a specific problem, whether it was in the water treatment industry, the lack of access to clean drinking water, whether it's tackling poverty and hunger. It was very numerical based, and all that was doing was actually making people feel very guilty about it and not driving a change. It's not allowing people to become part of the solution and just hearing the problem. So this evolution, excuse me, that we've seen in impact initiatives and impact storytelling is why so many people are now impact based, because they can realize that they can all be a part of the solution. And this is extremely important when you're communicating yourself to not only your employees internally, but to your most important stakeholders, which are your consumers. So why does storytelling matter so much when we're actually driving social impact initiatives? Because one, you have to build that connection, you have to build that bridge, and that's all done through empathy. Emotional intelligence is always one of the highest qualities of any leader in the organization, because you're actually understanding how you're connecting yourself to that audience. And if we can always evolve from going from an audience to building a community, even better, because then you're actually having a conversation and they feel always involved, part of the solution, which is what we always have to drive forward very much. Later comes the engagement. So always understanding that they can actually be compelled by the story that you're actually telling them, that they're attuned to it, they're actually paying attention, and it's not just flying by from one ear to the other, but it's actually resonating with them. They're understanding this. This is why it's so important to understand movements, key words. Where are we going right now as a society? And the best storytellers are ones that someone can predict the future. They can actually see 5 steps ahead as to where we're going and jump on that train, so that you in turn can deliver action, which is the most important part, that you actually motivate others to take charge. That way they become not only ambassadors of your brand, of your organization, but they become ambassadors of the cause itself. I believe that many of us in this call have become ambassadors because at some point, one time or another, we actually felt the words of a leader that really resonated with our hearts. And that's why we started pushing these missions forward. It's one of the reasons that I became an impact entrepreneur myself. It was all because the words started to resonate with me, that allowed me to realize that I could turn my businesses into a force for good and help others. And that ability to understand that I wasn't another number, but that I actually could affect change, all of a sudden just transformed my entire future, because I realized that my business could actually make a difference in others' lives. And I think that's something that we're all doing already as part of Impact Circle, and something that we're all doing with our own businesses. And it's absolutely inspiring to do so. Understanding the science behind storytelling is absolutely also important, because then it allows you to realize how you can actually communicate these things effectively, how you can be strategic about your communication, and understanding, again, your audience, your community. Who are you speaking to? Many times we feel that storytelling is just about reaching potentially our stakeholders, but you also have to think about it internally. The greatest force that you can do is, if you have a business with many employees, is drive that storytelling to motivate your employees. That'll obviously increment retention, that'll increment their employee morale, that'll increment their fulfillment, which is so key to be able to drive these impact initiatives forward. And if you're going to be going through marketing channels to communicate to your audience, to your community members, this is where you have to understand the psychology. At the end of the day, for example, marketing really is all about psychology, the way that sales is really all about relationships. So understanding the science behind this allows you to communicate a lot more effectively. Now, we're going to be looking at how we can craft compelling narratives that drive change. And to do this, we're going to realize a few campaigns that we were discussing before, so you can see how effective they were and not becoming viral, because it's not about vanity metrics. It's about actually getting people to realize that this is going to be a cause that hopefully we'll be able to complete or not have to continue working towards. I mean, that's the original ambition, really, of any nonprofit or any impact entrepreneurs, that you can actually solve the problem. So why don't we jump in? I'm going to share my screen to look at a few of the campaigns themselves and see how they were able to transform this and create this movement, which has just been spectacular. So let's start off first with Assume That I Can.
Hey, bartender, you assume that I cannot drink a margarita, so you don't serve me a margarita? So I don't drink a margarita. Your assumption becomes reality. And parents, you assume that I cannot live on my own, so you don't encourage me to live on my own. So I don't live on my own. Coach, you assume that I cannot hit harder, so you don't train me to hit harder. So I don't hit harder. And teacher, you assume that I cannot learn Shakespeare, so you don't teach me Shakespeare. Old MacDonald had a farm, so I don't learn Shakespeare. E-I-E-I-O. But hey, if all your assumptions become reality, then assume that I can drink a margarita. So you serve me a margarita, so I drink a margarita. Assume that I can live on my own, so I live on my own. Assume that I can hit harder, so I hit harder. Assume that I can learn Shakespeare. So, what will these mortals be? I learned fucking Shakespeare. You assume I can swear, right? You assume that I can do that job. That I can go to parties. That I can have sex. That I can be on stage. Assume that I can. So maybe I will.
All right, excellent. So immediately, from this campaign, the reason that it was so successful and it went absolutely viral, it's because it did, or it communicated one of the things that we are all guilty of doing, and it's assuming, creating those assumptions. And creating those assumptions can be completely dangerous, and they bring all of this to light. Now, it created again that bridge where all of us are watching it. You feel somewhat connected to it because you felt guilty for doing so in the past, but then it allows you to realize the transformation as well of the possibilities that become endless when you don't assume. And that just created this incredible viral campaign, major successful campaign that everybody still talks about, because it created that empathetic bridge, that emotional bridge that they drove down so effectively. They did it with a comical sense. That way, it creates that lightness as well towards the campaign itself. But it just became so memorable because of that. So it was realizing something that we all do, and then just completely went very intentional on this message. And so it's an incredible campaign that we can all learn from, again, of doing something that we're all somewhat guilty of doing and maximizing those emotions. Now let's check out one that was also very much a success from Olio. And I'm going to see the difference from what a foundation did or organization did to what an impact startup has done.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Now, Olio has done something.
What is ClickUp?
That is very much straight in your face, short, pretty quick and concise. And it just leaves you this impactful image of naturally the most innocent thing in our lives, which are children, but with the background setting of that entire landfill. And so it's just this complete complex difference of scenario that gets you thinking and obviously makes you wonder about the future. And makes it with an incredible song that we're all, that we all know, which is a very lively song, very lively tune, but they've taken it and basically took the music, the harmony out of it. So again, using music as one of the strongest sentiments, one of the strongest emotional builders, but to make you realize that again, we are now in an influx point that we really need to take change. We really need to get on this, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. And this is an incredible campaign that also went viral because of that storytelling and that communication that they were able to do so effectively. Now let's jump into the last one of the companies that we all very well know, which is Patagonia. And they've been obviously one of the most impact-driven businesses, most well-known businesses for their marketing, but they've been able to do so because of the communication that's been so effectively done. So let's take a look at this one, and then we can jump back into the presentation. So again, short, straight to the point, and they were able to do something that we've all felt, that it's too late. It's too late to drive change, that it's too late to be a part of the solution, that it's too late for us to actually stop the climate crisis. Now, these have been all different types of movements, different types of causes that we were realizing, but it's incredible to note the power that we all have to affect that change. And that's what Patagonia was able to actually drive into, not only to their consumers, to their potential clients, to their investors, but also to their employees, realizing that they're also a part of the solution. And that drives that pride, that sense of dignity as well for the company that you're working for. And this is something that you're all doing already, again, with your own businesses. And it's so inspiring because every single time that you're communicating your message, your mission to your team, to your consumers, it's resonating again with your employees. That's driving that engagement, that's driving that retention, that's driving that employee morale. And it's just so crucial to do so because, again, they're feeling that their work has meaning, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we all get up so ecstatic in the day. Is one of the reasons that you all took the time today that we're also grateful of to hear this webinar. It's because you care about impact. And not only do you care about impact, but you actually know that you can drive it forward. You actually know that you're capable to affect that change. And that's one of the most powerful sentiments that we can actually provide to ourselves, but to our teams as well. So as we saw here, the crafting of a compelling story goes through various different stages. Identifying your audience, again, I prefer community because you want them to feel part of it. You want them to feel involved, but understanding exactly what they're going through. A lot of these campaigns, as you well saw with Patagonia, for example, they understood their audience. They understood that we're all feeling somewhat upset of just hearing these doom and gloom news, but we want to be a part of that change. And that's something that got me up from every day in the morning. I just don't want to keep hearing the problem. I want to hear the solution. How can we be a part of the solution? And they're showcasing that, defining that message. What is the key, concise, and clarity-based message that you're driving forward? For them, it's just about that it's not too late, that we can actually make a difference immediately. The same way that we saw with the Down syndrome campaign of Assume That I Can. Their message is very simple. Stop assuming that we're not capable and give us the possibilities for a brighter future where we're actually going to be able to do whatever it is that we decide to do. It doesn't matter the disability that you may have. And finally, developing that narrative. In the case of the Down syndrome campaign, which is incredible, the character just completely resonates. The character is memorable, likable, edgy, and that all transforms into something that you're going to be talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so everybody can still always think about this campaign and they remember the character. Sometimes the character is the story itself, the movement, the cause. So we have to be extremely wise or prudent in terms of how we're going to be delivering that message. Naturally and fortunately, in today's digital world, we can have the power of storytelling every single day. Now, these have been incredible campaigns that they went on live, that we saw them on mainstream TV, media, YouTube, etc. But you have to realize that you actually have the power of storytelling every single day, whether you choose to be on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, for example. This is your ability to drive that change. So when we're thinking about these campaigns, don't make the mistake of thinking that storytelling really only falls onto these one big causes, this one big campaign that you're working towards. Now it's a storytelling for this campaign that you've been working on for like 3 months, 4 months. No, storytelling is in every single day. From the moment that you wake up to the moment that you sleep, you have the power to storytell, which is the power of gratitude, the power of kindness, of just saying to that bartender, thank you so much for your service today. I really do appreciate it. Those words are extremely powerful. And so realize that storytelling comes in every single facet, every single day that you're actually driving these missions forward, especially with your teams. If you have a team of employees, the same way, make them feel part of the solution, make them feel valued. And they are actually going to start becoming the ambassadors of your mission, of the cause that you're pushing forward, and use these digital medias and landscapes to push this even further, more aggressively, finding those digital platforms, whether you're actually attending events, a webinar like today. These are all opportunities to just inspire and to captivate your community's attention. Finally, it's all about integration into storytelling, which is kind of what we were discussing just now. Realizing those missions, those values, they're all different for all of us. I know that, for example, Impact Circle, we have our principles, our values, the mission that we're pushing forward, but it's very different to what many of you are doing. It's a different mission, it's a different cause that you're pushing. We all drive impact in very different methodologies, for example, and we even have different definitions for impact. Some might be ESG, some might be sustainability. Maybe the cause that really resonates with you is tackling climate change. For others, it might be donation-based, philanthropic, nonprofits, foundations. So understanding this is what allows you really to, again, craft your message very adequately and realize how you can actually affect that change. And so that you can actually have your impact goals and that action that you're looking to provide in a very strategic manner and methodology. This is extremely important because sometimes your message can become somewhat drowned in the noise, because we have been hearing so many different words and terminologies, which is something that I've been wanting to push very much so. So when you're actually crafting your storytelling, don't be afraid of being a little vague. And what I mean by that is that nowadays we're also finding so many different terminologies. I mean, you can just go through the glossary, and then you're gonna hear ESG, circularity. You're gonna find sustainability, whether it's gonna be all these different terms that you don't even know, and all that causes sometimes is for your community to feel a little overwhelmed. They might feel that they're not even part of it because they don't know the terminology itself, and so they feel a little guilty, like, am I somewhat ignorant for not knowing these terms and words? And it's not the case whatsoever. What you need to push is the mission, the cause. We're actually doing things better. How are we doing things better? By tangible action, by demonstrating the information that you're actually providing out there. And so that's where storytelling turns into action. And that word that gets thrown around quite frequently nowadays, especially in the world of LinkedIn and digital platforms, is authenticity. Authenticity. Be authentic. Be authentic. Now, how can you actually be authentic? By being transparent. So that's your one solution. If you're going to always be saying, I'm authentic, I'm authentic, I'm authentic, let your actions define it. Be transparent with absolutely everything. Involve those impact metrics into your campaign. How many people have we helped? How have we done so? What methodologies did we use? What nonprofit did we go with? This was the donation. And all these things then become your authenticity. There isn't a better way to earn brand credibility than through transparency. And in the world of today, where storytelling is absolutely so crucial, so powerful to do so, the one thing that every brand is somewhat afraid of is that terminology of greenwashing. Now, greenwashing has been one of the most detrimental actions for any brand, and we've seen it from top corporations like Coca-Cola to smaller local businesses. Why? Because at the end of the day, we haven't been able to drive the most important factor, which is transparency. Consumers, donors, investors, everybody wants to be involved in an authentic communication with a transparent message. And so that's something that I'm going to leave you off with to think about. Very importantly, is how can you be a little more transparent in your own business, in your own leadership style, in your own sustainability goals, in your own impact-based goals? Is how can I be more transparent? How can I involve that transparency the same way that you do with your financial metrics, with your revenue, your margins, your cost, your profits? That's always so black and white in your statements. Your impacts has to be done the same way. Those impact metrics need to be involved in the same methodology. And doing so, you craft it into your storytelling. And you do that again for your employees, for your investors, for your consumers, for your stakeholders. And that's something that I want you to think about and take action this very week. I think we all have something that we can be a little more transparent about. And that way we can actually drive that credibility, that trust, and that loyalty forward even more so. Which is why I want you to always think about at the end of this call, how you can measure it even more. How can you measure the impact and the success of your own storytelling, whether it's through retention and internally with your own employees, or whether it's externally with your consumers. How did it resonate? What should I fix? What should I work on? What should I include? And think about all these things a little more profoundly so you get better at it every single day as you go along. So thank you again for listening in. And I'm opening it up right now to any questions that anybody may have.
I'll start with the Q&A here because I got 100 questions because this is obviously something that I'm fun with. Guys, if you have questions, you can just put raise hand in the bottom there. Mario can call on you to chat, or you can put it in the chat and Mario will get to it. My question was, Mario, how do we create transparency when employees of our companies are pushing back a little bit when they see some of the donations coming in and some of the work going, well, why don't we get raises? Why don't you pay us? We're the ones that are driving the company and making all the money, but then we're taking it and donating it out. That's probably one of the top things that I get from CEOs of their concerns of talking about the giving inside their companies, saying, well, if you can donate X, why don't you pay us Y?
That's an excellent question. And I think one of the things that you have to be able to do as a company, and something that I've been pushing even with my other startup, is involving your employees in the process. For too long, let's say CSR efforts have been very transactional. And that transactional nature, again, is is not allowing them to realize the full picture of the company. Naturally, you have some things that you have to be able to diversify anyway in terms of responsibilities, but that transactional nature doesn't make them feel part of the solution. Excuse me. You have to be able to involve your employees in the process. You have to actually ask your employees as well, what are the causes that they care about? Which for many of the times, the companies have been saying this is a nonprofit that we've worked with for 30 or X amount of years. And unfortunately, it's not the cause that resonates with your entire team, with your entire employees. So there's a shift that's going on right now, an evolution that's going on where employees are now part of that solution, and they want their donations, or they want the donations of the business to go to the causes that they also care about, that resonate with them, because they're a part of your company. They are the oxygen of the company, and that's the biggest way that you can make them feel valued. And that's why it has to go not only from employees, but to the consumers themselves, is making them feel part of that process. Where can they actually realize those donations? Why are you sending it to this nonprofit or to this cause? And this is something that we're seeing, and it's very fortunate that we're seeing this, because then it's creating intimacy, which is also the most important part. It's not a one-stop donation that all of a sudden just went by. It's actually creating somewhat of a bridge for that movement. And that movement is what really allows for long-standing success.
Thank you. That was a great answer.
I have a question about kind of piggyback on what Randy was saying. What happens if your employees don't like agree with the company that you're giving it to? Because I do like monthly, we choose like different companies, and I kind of like vote with my staff, and some staff are like, why them? Why not someone else? But like also we have the situation of where, why don't you pay us more? Because we're kind of like, minimum wage workers compared to, Canada's not easy to live in the minimum wage world anymore.
No, that's an excellent question, Zohir, and that's the reason that in terms of, let's say, transparency or communication, I think that over communication, even if it bores someone, is the best way that you can go. And so that communication to your employees is also understanding, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a for-profit business. It's for profit at the end of the day, and you're never treating your companies as a family. Always be careful of the words. They're not part of your family, and they don't want a family either. They want a place of growth. They want a place of value. They want a place where they can actually feel part of that mission, that solution. And if you also have a nonprofit that you support, is also communicating that openly. I had that case with the CEO about 4 weeks ago that we were driving it with my startup, and I was telling him, communicate to them that it goes beyond just some tax incentive or some backdoor relationship that you have, that you actually believe in the values that they're doing, that you believe in the principles, and it goes beyond the donation. Get them involved in volunteer work, get them involved in the impact drive. And not only that, now start supporting the causes that they care about as well. So it's a matter of respect. They're asking those questions. Why are you supporting this, this organization? Maybe the cause for them isn't their top of mind, and that's quite all right, because most of the times causes resonate with us because of a personal background, a personal experience that we've suffered in. Some have it in terms of investigating for cancer research, some because they went through a family experience. Some have gone through veterans because they're a military background. So understanding that and understanding those emotions, that emotional IQ, is so important. And it's just a communication. Listen, we're going to be backing this nonprofit because the founders of this company have always believed in X to Y in terms of the values and principles. But we recognize you as our employees, as our team, as what you mean to us as a company. We're going to support your causes as well. So list them out, whether you're doing different CSR platforms, like whether they're Benevity, Millie, Bright Funds, etc. There's plenty that you can choose from. And if you can't choose a platform yourself, do it manually and actually get a survey and understand the causes that they really care about. And you actually start involving them, again, much more than just a donation, but get them involved tangibly, whether you're volunteering their time, whether you're providing some programming, etc. And they're gonna really respect you for it and become a lot more involved in the company's mission as well.
No, I appreciate that. Makes sense. Would you recommend just picking one company and sticking with it so it's just consistent, so it's not causing like, hey, we're picking, Red Cross 1 month and then like the next month is something, you know what I mean?
That's Zahir, I'd say that's very it's very personal. It's and I've seen success either way. There's some companies that have stuck around for one nonprofit for over 50 years and have been extremely successful doing so. There are some that have been, let's say, a policy. We're going to support this cause for 3 years' time, and then they shift to another nonprofit, but they allow their employees to realize, if you still want to support this nonprofit, tell us. And then we're going to separate funds or diversify our funds similar to any investment to that cause and keep supporting them as well. So it's just staying your ear to the ground and understanding again how your team is shifting, the demographics of your team, what the causes that they care about, et cetera. And then internally, and that relationship that you have with a nonprofit is being very clear from the start. Hey, we want a relationship with this organization for 3 years, or we want it for 20 years. And they're going to be very grateful for that over communication again.
Perfect. Thank you.
Derek, I was seeing a question from you. So with so many things to remember to do, how do you keep the importance of storytelling at the forefront of your business? And that's a common question that we all receive. And I think it's part of your everyday communication. So don't consider even storytelling as a different facet, the way that we do foresee, let's say, finance, operations, marketing, etc. View storytelling as the umbrella that just encapsulates absolutely everything. So that you're involving storytelling within your marketing, you're involving storytelling even within your finances, you're involving storytelling with your operations. And that way you actually have this entire uniform view anyway of the way that you're actually creating or crafting that storytelling. And that'll allow you again to understand the different situations. You have so many important facets of your business. If you go with it with a storytelling mindset, then I believe you're gonna be able to tackle it in a much more efficient manner. So if you're going through an employee problem, a retention problem, do the same thing. If you're actually going through a financial or downturn, which is quite all right, you're going to be able to actually captivate that storytelling to actually inspire and motivate, so that it's not a downturn or it's not seen as something completely detrimental, but you're always providing a different solution, a different avenue, a different gateway, which is why it's so powerful. The greatest entrepreneurs, in my opinion, have always been storytellers. This is something that we can even see, whether you like him, whether you don't, that's quite all right. But Elon Musk, for example, is one of the greatest storytellers currently. And this is something objectively speaking, because he's been able to do so in terms of just inspiring people in the mission. When you see the employees, for example, of SpaceX, whenever they actually land a rocket, you see that entire excitement. You see them applauding, you see them celebrating, you see this euphoric nature of every landing that they've done, even from the failures to the ones that they're doing absolutely right now, because they feel part of the mission. Each one of those employees really do believe in the mission and the storytelling that Elon was able to craft and completely get them to back him up. And so this is something that, again, we can all learn from. The same things from the greats like a Steve Jobs, for example, or understanding the movements. So one of the greatest storytellings that was done with one quick image was by the WWF. And you could actually see this entire extinction timeline, basically, until you saw the little bird from Twitter go extinct because X came around. And so it's just understanding these movements and being very agile to what's going on right now around you as well in your surroundings.
I got a question as well, Mario. So what's the best type of, like, how do you share the storytelling on social, through your website, through areas? Like, how much is too much? How much should it encompass? We all want to do good, but how much is too much? How much is greenwashing? How much is there? How do we get those stories out there, and how should they tie into the business?
So right now we're living in an interesting time where, and I'm sure that all of you have been probably bombarded by it, but it's like personal branding, right? Like we're getting bombarded by it every single day because it's actually, again, it's very true. So one of the greatest things that you can do as well, and I've suggested this to nonprofits, like the way that I've been suggesting it to businesses, is that you have to be part of that personal branding process. It's what drives, again, that authenticity, is driving that transparency, that they can see the founders themselves, each one of you. Uh, you know, actions are always louder than words, right? So not only are you actually posting these different like messages and motivational, whether it's quotes or missions that you're on, showcase a little bit about your life, how the cause that you're actually pushing forward is something that you're actually doing, whether it's on your daily basis, weekly, monthly, etc. Show that you're actually involved, that you actually care. And so there's never such a thing as too much. It's just about how much of a priority it is in your own time, what's urgent and what's important. Everything's relative. Each one of us have our own methodologies in terms of timing, scheduling of our events, of our priorities, of the items that we have to do within our business. You have to find the time to include those storytelling in terms of what's the most important in your business or in your organization. Some of you might not have the time to post 3 times a day, for example, on LinkedIn. And that's quite all right. Anybody who tells you otherwise, I don't think understands yourself or your business. And so it's all relative. Understand what it really means to you, how much drive or initiative is going to become in terms of a significant change for yourself or your business, and then modify that into a way that works for yourself and your own timing and your own scheduling. For example, posting twice a day on LinkedIn, I've been able to do it with specific like scheduling platforms, etc. And that's been able to increase my personal brand so that I can also showcase the good that I'm doing within my enterprises. I had to do the same thing with my water treatment business, where in Dominican Republic, for example, people were very untrustworthy of the water. So one of the greatest challenges that we are facing is that a citizen from the Dominican Republic will travel to Switzerland and he can find or she can find the most cleanest water, the most purified water, and they will still ask for a bottle of water because they just don't trust the process. And so we had to kind of dismantle that entire scare, that entire fear by showcasing ourselves through storytelling, through personal branding, and getting ourselves out there, drinking water from the tap that we were installing these systems in front of everyone. So we were doing it in events, we were doing it in galas, we were doing it in dinners, we were doing it in plenty of different locations, but to showcase again that my actions were one of being trustworthy, so that people could realize, well, if the founder is doing it and he's drinking it and he's being, or he's putting his health in jeopardy because he doesn't trust the water, or he does, then they're actually seeing the action. And then that started to resonate. After 1 year where they weren't following us whatsoever, in 5 years' time, it resonated with the entire island. So it made a major difference doing so because we invested the time into storytelling because we were facing a fear and a problem. So I had to give it a lot of my time. Each one of you has to determine what makes sense for you and your business. Ashley, go ahead.
Hey, Mario, thanks a lot for this information. I was just going to contribute to on that last point that I think oftentimes we think of storytelling having to be something very formal, or we have to make sure we have it all figured out before we share things. And oftentimes, going back to your point about authenticity, those moments when you're like just sharing a quick video as you're engaging with your community, or you're unloading supplies, or you're doing something like that, it doesn't have to be really thought through. It's just an authentic, honest moment of you engaging and participating and having impact. And that can do a lot to create that authenticity, that drive, that transparency. And so just to your point, Randy, about like, how do we do this on social? That's one way to just kind of be more candid about it.
I couldn't agree more with you, Ashley. I think what you just mentioned, I mean, it's like when you're caught being authentic. If you could be caught more often doing something good, because that's just your natural state of being, and that just drives that emotion. So you can be mindful of it. You can craft strategies around it, etc. But just it all comes also from those habits, similar to those positive habits. So the more that you do so, the more that your employees can realize, for example, that you're doing this in a very natural state of being, the more it starts to resonate. The same way that you start showing up every single day, whether you're doing it online and you're crafting that message. Sometimes it doesn't have to be so perfectly crafted with the right words, etc. Sometimes it can be very authentic. I'm feeling this way. I'm being a little vulnerable, putting myself out there. And that can resonate completely. And again, don't be afraid of disappointing some of your audience. That's quite all right. I mean, if you're trying to get it's one of the things that we all have heard very frequently, right? If you're trying to be liked by absolutely everyone, or if you're trying to speak to everyone, then you're ultimately speaking to nobody. And that's what you have to realize as well. Your movement, the impact that you're trying to drive, is also for a select group of audience, a select group of people, and that's quite all right as well. You're going to be creating somewhat of an enemy. Now, it's not to a literal sense, but it's just people that don't want to be part of that movement, and that's quite all right. Let them go somewhere else. They're going to want to resonate with a different movement. You just need to create the loyalty and that sense of pride, that sense of emotion from your community, and they're going to become your backers for everything that you do. And there's something that I've been able to fortunately and I've been very grateful for with my past businesses. We went build up some enemies because we were driving a movement. Now that movement all of a sudden started to resonate with our few of our community members. They started speaking about it. They're part of the solution. They start becoming very proud about it, and then they become the ambassadors of the cause that you're pushing forward. So don't be afraid of being liked. Be kind, but don't be, just liked for likeness sake.
Amazing. Well, if that's it, does anyone have any final questions for Mario before we wrap up today? That's it, my friend. Any parting words, Mario, for everyone?
No, honestly, go drive the impact that you're doing already. Showing up to this today means that you have it top of mind. Uh, all of you are already great storytellers, which is why you also have your business, which is why you're also driving these things forward. So don't be afraid of, am I using the right words? Am I the best communicator? Am I the best, fabricator of these stories? No, just go out there, keep driving your impact the way that you're doing. Be mindful of it and be passionate. That's the biggest thing that you can do. When you bring that passion, you bring that energy, it resonates with people very powerfully. Again, internally, externally. Keep doing it. You're going to find major success. And again, don't be afraid of listening to the online gurus that you have to be posting 5 times a day, 10. No, do your thing, and make sure that it fits into your schedule, that it fits into your mission. You know it best, and then you're going to be able to drive that impact forward very effectively. So just a major thank you, and very grateful for each of you for taking the time today. I know that an hour in each of our schedules is quite a lot. So I just want to say thanks again. I really do appreciate you, and wishing everybody an impactful Thursday.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And before you guys sign off, just want to let you know that on Tuesday, the 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time, we have Kendra Garrigan coming in to speak about how to grow your LinkedIn and your personal branding through it. So it's going to be a really impactful conversation. She's helped me a lot with my LinkedIn. She's helped a lot of people, and it's talking about like founders growth. So how as we as founders can use our LinkedIn pages to grow us, how to optimize it. What does your headers look like? What does your posting look like? How do you get your page optimized to get the most amount of views? So that's on the 19th at 11 o'clock. If you go to impactcircle.com/event, you can register there. You've registered for this, so you'll get an invite from it. But it's going to be an incredible conversation, and invite all your friends to that one. And there's a little secret gift at the end for people that want to be a part of that one. Kendra is offering up a bonus incentive for you to get some discounts to some products and services and things like that. So it's going to be a really incredible opportunity there. That's on Tuesday, the 19th. And again, guys, thank you so much for coming, hanging out with us, enjoying, and I look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday.